Hi, it's Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome to Career Coach Office Hours, April Fool's Day edition. Woohoo! Now, I want to just have you be comfortable with the fact that I'm not going to prank anyone on my answers. I just don't think that's right. However, I will answer people's questions if you put them into chat. If you've got a question about job search, hiring more effectively, management, leadership, something along those lines, put it into chat and I'll try and cover it during this show. Again, if on another occasion you have a question for me in advance of the show or you can't attend, very simply just email it to me let's start with email. Send it to thebiggamehunter@gmail.com. In the subject line, put the phrase office hours. This way it can be organized for me and I can be prepared as I am for this show. Also, there's great content at my website, thebiggamehunter.us. Number one, the blog is phenomenal. At this point, over 12,000 posts that you can watch, listen to, or read that are going to help you find work more quickly. Also, you can schedule time for a free discovery call, schedule time for coaching, and find out about my courses, books, and guides. So there's just a lot of great information available through the website. Now, before I start off with the coffee toast, let me just say to you, it's April Fool's Day, so I've got one April Fool's joke. Why do eggs like April Fool's Day? Answer, they love practical yolks. Oh, painfully punny. So thank you for indulging me with that. And again, if you've got a question for me, put it into chat as Rasheen did, and I'm going to start off with his question before I go to some of the others, okay? So Rasheen asked, how do you assess cultural fit as a job candidate? Okay. Now, I start off by telling employers that it's impossible for them to assess for fit because everyone's on good behavior. You see, job hunters, shall we say, they don't want to put on a good show and they overstate their qualifications. And they've got a happy face and they present very nicely. But employers do the same thing. So when I used to do recruiting, I would teach new recruiters the three jokes of the recruiting business. How can you tell an applicant is lying to you? Answer, their lips are moving. How can you tell an institutional customer is lying to you? Their lips are moving. And the third one, of course, is how can you tell a third-party recruiter might be lying to you? Yes, their lips are moving. The hard thing about assessing for cultural fit is because everyone's on good behavior, and that includes the hiring manager, the recruiter, corporate, and the people on staff that you meet. You've got to understand they're not presenting themselves honestly. So a couple of things you might ask. Number one is, what happened to the last person who was doing this job? They moved on to something else. They found a better opportunity. What made it a better opportunity? Paid more money, better work. How long were they here? About 6 months. Now, what that's going to tell you is they didn't like their job. 6 months, they're out the door, better opportunity. Maybe they were paid more. That's another message. They accepted an offer for too little money and went elsewhere where they were paid fairly. Maybe, just maybe, the work wasn't to their satisfaction. It was misrepresented to them, as often happens. Statistically, employers within 18 months of hiring someone have buyer's remorse 60% of the time, With job hunters, within 6 months, 30% do because the work is misrepresented. Cultural fit is just one of those terms that involves how you interact with other people in the firm. What's the tone and tenor of the organization? Is it a workaholic culture? So I'll come back to the idea of cultural fit is what's a typical workday like? What time do people get in? What time do people leave? Now, at the end of an interview, I'll have people ask a number of questions about expectations. And sometimes they'll hear unreasonable things that make people go, thank God. I'm not going to wind up going to work for those people because they're crazy with what they want. So it comes back to they're putting on an act and so are you. And you have to get them to be a little bit more forthright and get them off the script. For the hiring manager, they're going to lie to you. For the people on the team, you can always ask them, how long have you been here? And what keeps you here? And it's not just what they say that matters, is how they say it as well. A little hesitation in their answer about what keeps them there, or there's just something behaviorally that suggests that maybe they're not being forthright, pay attention to it. All this comes into play because, again, people's words will speak lies. Their body language may tell you something different about what it's really like to be there. So there's no one answer. You have to use your instincts to break through. Hope that was helpful, Rasheen. If you've got more, please feel free to put it into chat. I'd be very happy to answer your question. Let me go to the next one in the meantime. Bear with me. I got to do a scroll here. If someone isn't hired, how can they know if there was something wrong with their resume or if it was a personal issue that prevented them from getting hired? Something wrong with their resume or a personal issue. And those are two different points in the interview. So when there's something wrong with the resume, that suggests you didn't get interviewed. When there's a personal issue, well, it suggests that maybe you were interviewed, but they're not going to compare because if you got the interview, your resume was good enough or it didn't turn them off. So I don't think this is a valid question. If you're not qualified, if you didn't perform well on the interview, you're going to be rejected. If your resume stinks, then you're not even going to get the interview. So I'll just simply say something broke down for them. It's not personal, it's business, and move on to the next thing. Let me just do a quick check here. Good. Let me come back to the next question. What should I do? I had 2 interviews and I got an offer immediately contingent upon a background check. I accepted, but hours later, the other job requested a background check. Should I decline since I already accepted the first offer? Well, since you accepted the offer, but it's contingent upon the background check, they haven't actually made an offer until the background check is completed. So you can say to the other firm, since they haven't told you about the money, you can say, give me a sense of what the dollar amount is that you're thinking of. Great. Here are my references. You contact the references and say, I'm having 2 firms contact you to check my background. Don't mention that there are 2 firms doing this. And I'd appreciate it if you said wonderful things about me and my work. The whole thing is because it's contingent, it's not a real offer until the check is complete. Now, the first firm may be the one that you prefer. Great. You can take that one. And once the background check has been completed, you have a valid offer. However, if the other firm is offering you $20,000 more, well, you've got a choice to make, don't you? So have the second firm also check references. It doesn't hurt, like my mother used to say. Being a recruiter, how can I improve my sourcing skills? Well, I'll just start by saying do a Google search. Look for videos. Of course, you can go to YouTube directly, but do a search that says how to source candidates. You're going to get a lot of great information and response. Some you may already know, because again, I don't know where you are in learning how to be a better recruiter or how to source better. But start off with how to source candidates as a search term on Google and on YouTube, and start learning from other people about what to do and what not to do. So, um, lots of different things that you can do, but I'm out of recruiting now. I did it for a lot of years, and I want to make sure that you get best information. So, there were things I did, but they may not work to the same degree as they used to. Talk to different people. Also, I know there's a Facebook group of recruiters that you can try joining. And I'm just going to try and go to Facebook quickly to spot the name of the group. Bear with me one second. Recruiters Online, I believe it is. Ask to join that group. And there's a few thousand people in there, and then ask a question about sourcing. I'm sure someone will be able to answer your questions, but don't ask dumb questions. Do your own work and don't expect others to do it all for you. Okay? Now, let's go to the next question. I see. Are there employers recruiting candidates without requiring an online job application and questionnaire? Of course. There are millions of employers around the world who are hiring people, and they don't require an application or completion of a questionnaire. That should be obvious. Why do they ask for this? As a time saver is one thing. Number two is an application is a legal document. So if you're in the United States, if you lie on an application post-employment, if it's grounds for termination. So please be as accurate as you can about dates and wages. Same thing with questionnaires as a time saver. Going back to my time doing recruiting, I would get hundreds of resumes in the course of a day. And I used questionnaires to save time because, very simply, if I called everyone, I would leave a voice message, wait for them to call me. Maybe I was on a call with someone at that particular time. I couldn't take their call, then I'd have to call them back. And we're doing that back and forth. A questionnaire is designed to save everyone time. If you're not qualified, if your compensation level or desired compensation is too high, why are we interviewing you? You can respectfully, as I used to do, message back saying, the job I'm recruiting for is not paying as much as you're currently at, or is not paying as much as you're currently looking for. So, respecting your time, I'm going to get back in touch with you at a time where I have something more suitable, and thus be respectful of you. So I'm not sure what the issue is with applications. Well, actually, I am sure. It's tedious, and not all applicant tracking systems have parsing capabilities that allow you to input your resume into their system just by uploading it or scanning it. But it is what it is. There are firms that don't work with applications. They don't work with questionnaires, and you're going to waste a lot more time doing that as well. So again, just a reminder, put your questions about job search, hiring better, management leadership, or if you want advice, about a workplace issue, put it into chat. Also, visit my website, thebiggamehunter.us, if you want to schedule time for a free discovery call, a coaching session, to visit my blog, which has more than 12,000 searchable entries. You can also find out about my books and guides to job hunting. at the website. Also, my YouTube channel, JobSearchTV.com, has more than 7,000 videos on it. And my podcast, No BS Job Search Advice Radio, which was recently named the top career podcast for the 5th year running, is #1 in Apple Podcasts with more than 2,300 episodes over more than 11 years. No show is close to that one. It's a video podcast on Spotify. It's also available on Amazon Music, Google Play, or pretty much wherever you might listen to podcasts. So please subscribe. It's a 5-day-a-week show. You'll learn a lot from it and from Job Search TV. Okay. Job Search TV, just as an aside, is available on YouTube and as an app for Amazon. If you have what do you call it, a Prime account and access to a Fire TV or a Fire Stick, or through BingeNetworks.tv, it's also available to watch as well. Let's move on, okay? How should a leader deal with poor performance in the team? So, poor performance can get caused by a couple of different things. And one is not really understanding the work, why it's important, how to do the work, or not really caring about the work. So sometimes you have to retrain people in the work. Sometimes you have to retrain people into caring again, but not caring is an issue around employee engagement. What causes them to become disengaged? Is it corporate friction? Is it you? Because sometimes you're the problem. Start talking to people about what the issues are. You can stress to them the importance of the work. You can cover it in regular meetings. Talk about accurate KPIs. Rank them in some way so that they see their progress concretely. So fundamentally, there's lots of things that you can do, including fire people. When I did search, one of the things I would do is with less experienced people, I would take them into an office and sit down with them and ask, are you okay? Because I get the idea that recently something shifted for you and you're not into the work like you once were. I just want to make sure, are you okay? And often what you'll get in response is, oh, I'm fine. I couldn't really tell because the quality of your work hasn't been as strong as it once was. So I got worried about you and thought I would ask. Real simple approach. It's non-threatening. You're not saying to them, your job is in jeopardy. Unless you kick things up, we're going to fire you. No, it's a human concern between you and them. That you notice something is different, you want to make sure they're okay. It's really that simple. It seems like interviews are a way to find a reason not to hire rather than to evaluate the person. Is this true? Of course, it's designed to evaluate people, but evaluation takes a variety of forms. For example, doctors, when you go there and you talk with the doctor, the first thing they're trying to do is to rule things out that the illness is not. So they start off with a rule out, and then from there start to narrow possibilities. Interviews are much the same way. Now, you talk about a way to disqualify people. Well, you disqualify yourself because you're not capable of doing the job. You're not capable of answering the questions. What do you think? You're supposed to walk into an interview, sit down in a chair, and someone looks at you and goes, very handsome. We want to make you an offer. Very good looking woman. We want to make you a job offer. It doesn't work that way. So the idea just becomes, yes, they're going to rule people out and narrow down the scope, Go in deeper, narrow it and narrow it and narrow it until they have the person they believe is right for them. It's an imperfect approach. It really is, but no one's come up with something different that works. Let's go on to the next question. Is there anything you can do to a prospective employee who asked for an extension on their job offer, accepted the job, and then decided to take another job 2 months later, which made it too late to make the offer to the next candidate? So what do you think you want to do? Do you want to string them up or just take them out back and stab them to death? What do you think you can do? Seriously, what do you think you should do to this person, under these circumstances? Remember, maybe the problem was you and how you represented the work. Why does that become their fault? Most of the time, I've got to tell you, let me restate that. A lot of the time, it is about you. It is about how you promoted yourself and the opportunity. And they came on board and discovered you were deceptive. You lied. So let's not put it on the candidate. Let's not put it on the fact that they left within 2 months. Maybe they did the wrong thing. Absolutely. I want to concede that one. And there's nothing you can do unless you run into them at the next job or, I'll just leave it at that. How do you answer the question, how do you deal with pressure or stressful situations in an interview? Let me try restating that. How do you answer the question on an interview? How do you deal with pressure or stressful situations? So they don't care about your gym membership. They don't care about your exercise routine, whether you meditate, anything along those lines. What they care about is how do you deal with tension at work? How do you avoid blowing up? What do you do? This pressure and stress. How do you handle it? What do you do? That's it. So focus on giving them those answers. And if you have to pause and go, great question. There are a lot of pressure and stress in this job. And you now flip it back at them and they go, there's some, but not a lot. Well, it was a red herring question. If they go, oh yeah, a lot of pressure, a lot of tension, a lot of stress. I haven't slept a full night in 3 years since I joined here. Okay, you listen, and now you've learned something about them from them. So back to that question about cultural fit that I was asked by Rasheen at the beginning of the interview. Very simply, avoid getting trapped in answering questions that are going to put you in an awkward situation and cause you to shoot yourself in the foot. Next question. When a hiring manager on the way out of the interview room asks the next interviewer to go easy on the software engineering candidate, what does that mean? Well, it can mean a number of different things, including don't waste your time. This person sucks. And I apologize for passing them on to you, but I have someplace else to go to. So that's one possibility. It could also mean, I like you very much. I think you'd be a great hire. We don't want the next person to disqualify you from consideration. So go easy on him. Go easy on her. I want to bring her on. It could be one of those signals. Beyond that, can't tell. There's not enough information. Here we go with the next question. What is the most common way people get off to a bad start with their resumes? Answer, flipping the same resume like it's a burger at a fast food restaurant, to every employer, to every job they see, as though it's going to fit. People who don't tailor their resume make a huge mistake because the broken watch is right twice a day, right? Well, your resume is going to work, sometimes, but not all the time. If you care enough to apply, you should care enough to demonstrate your fit for the role in the resume. Period. If you don't fit, don't be a spammer. And when people ask questions like this, I think of someone who spams their resume to every job they see that might vaguely fit. Vaguely is the key word there. You don't fit this role. You know that. So get off, get out of this situation, extricate yourself, move on. What is the most common way people get off to a bad start with their resumes? Did I just answer this? Well, the answer very simply is the resume doesn't make a case for their candidacy. And thus, it was a nonsense submission. You submitted your resume, you're not going to get an interview. There's nothing there that demonstrates how you fit what you saw in the job description. You just spammed your resume. As a software engineering interviewer, would you request the candidate to turn on the camera if they haven't turned it on during a remote interview? Yes, I would. And I would do it because I want to know if they have notes in front of them that causes them to have cheat sheets and they really don't know the subject. So, for example, if you're someone who's interviewing someone for a position, and I have to say, it's not just for software engineering jobs, it's really for any position, and the camera's off, were you planning on keeping the camera off the entire time and keeping me from seeing how handsome you were or how lovely your appearance is? Boy, I'm very disappointed. So that's designed to flush it out. So this way you can see what they look like and don't allow them to hide that they're looking at notes or having someone else answer the question for them. If the camera's off, one person could be being interviewed and you actually are hiring someone else. Catch that one. They're interviewing one person thinking they're the potential employee, but they aren't. And thus, someone else is being evaluated and assessed and not the real person. Make sure you're talking to the real person that you want to be talking to. Let's continue on, okay? If a job seeker was not hired, how can they tell? I think, was this the first question? Every once in a while. Yeah, that was the opening question. Let's delete that. Go on to the next question. As a software engineering manager, when you see that an engineer is quiet in meetings, would you encourage them to share their opinions during your one-on-one meetings with them? Yes. Yes, I would. I'll tell you, people hide. And you can say to them, I noticed that you really don't contribute during the meetings. Are you feeling intimidated? Intimidated, not me. Bored, maybe. So very simply, you want to be in a situation where you're communicating to them that what they're doing is not what you want to see. What you want them to be doing is being an active participant in the meetings and not hiding behind the fact that their camera isn't on. Get people to know, like, trust, and respect you. So that in this way, you get better work, better opportunities, better assignments. So I'm going to bring the show to a close at this point. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Jeff Altman, Visit my website, thebiggamehunter.us. If you go to the site and go exploring, there's just a lot there to help you. And again, you can schedule time for a free discovery call, a coaching session, to visit my blog with more than 12,000 searchable posts, and find out about my courses, books, and guides. I'm also going to mention, wrong message in chat. I apologize. Subscribe to JobSearchTV.com on YouTube and No BS Job Search Advice Radio in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Play, or pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts. And hope you have a terrific day. Hope you connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/The Big Game Hunter. Mention that you saw the video. Mention that you watched the live stream. I like knowing I'm helping some folks. And once we're connected, my network is usually a lot larger than other people's. So your network is going to grow a lot. Have a terrific day. And most importantly, be great. Take care.